Deep in the isolated wilderness of Dominion Creek, Parker Schnabel surveyed an enormous 7,500-acre claim raw untouched land that held the potential for gold beneath its icy surface. This wasn't just another mining site, it was a vast stretch of challenging terrain, riddled with swamps, frozen ground, and untold natural obstacles for Parker. The goal was clear: unlock the secrets buried beneath every piece of gravel, prepared for the harsh conditions and fueled by the excitement of potential discovery. Parker approached the mission with the seriousness of high-stakes business. The decisions made here could shape the success or failure of his entire mining season. There was no room for error, and the scale of the opportunity demanded innovation. To tackle this daunting terrain, Parker introduced a powerful new piece of equipment to his arsenal: the SHERP. This rugged vehicle, designed and built in Ukraine, was specifically engineered to handle extreme environments. With enormous 63-inch tires, a compact build, and a 55-horsepower engine, the SHERP was capable of traversing nearly any obstacle in its path. What truly set it apart, though, was its amphibious capability. It could move just as easily across water as it could on land. In the Yukon, where ice and hidden ponds are constant threats, this kind of mobility was a serious advantage. This one here, it's not very big, but we took all the brush and whatnot off of it last year just to let the sun start thawing things out. It looks like it's draining really well. The team's first destination with the SHERP was a small pit that seemed unremarkable at first glance. However, looks were deceiving. The previous season, the crew had taken early steps to prepare the site by clearing the overgrowth and allowing sunlight to slowly warm and thaw the frozen ground. The results were encouraging. The area was draining well, and the ground had begun to soften despite the slower path. To pay out the reduced expenses made the site an appealing long-term investment. For Parker, this was a calculated risk, balancing time, cost, and potential reward as he forged ahead into an unforgiving but promising new frontier. The real test for the SHERP had finally arrived. Ahead lay a deep pond, likely more than 30 feet across, with a shoreline made of soft, unstable earth, the kind of terrain that would bog down most vehicles without hesitation. This was Parker's first time attempting to take the SHERP into water. And while excitement hung in the air, there was a subtle edge of uncertainty. The stakes were real as the SHERP inched forward, its massive tires pressed into the muddy bank, letting out a low hiss. It crept forward, then dipped into the pond and held steady. So we might actually have a hard time getting out of the water. Against the tension of the moment, the machine did exactly what it was designed to do. It floated with buoyancy, confirmed. The crew's spirits lifted. There were no leaks, no signs of instability, an encouraging sign for the expedition ahead. The SHERP proved it could survive the entry into deep water, navigating across the pond's surface like a strange hybrid between a boat and an all-terrain crawler. However, new challenges quickly surfaced. The SHERP wasn't built for speed on water, it was built to endure. Movement across the pond was slow and deliberate. The team's focus shifted toward the far bank, soft, wet, and offering little traction, while getting into the water had gone well. Climbing back out looked like it might be a tougher battle. The vehicle pushed forward, leaving a trail of ripples in its wake, cutting a path through the stillness like a steel beast exploring unmapped swampland. Despite the uncertainty ahead, the atmosphere buzzed with energy. The adventure had officially begun, and with every slow churn of the tires, they moved closer to unlocking the hidden wealth of Dominion Creek. In the heart of the Yukon's icy wilderness, the SHERP faced its most critical challenge. Yet the calm pond that once seemed manageable now revealed its true danger: a hidden shoreline that was anything but firm. As the vehicle approached the edge, the crew knew this was where things could go very wrong. With a focused push, the SHERP powered forward, its oversized tires churned through the muddy water, heading for what they hoped would be solid ground. But just as momentum built, everything changed. The SHERP hit the bank and then stalled. The mud clung to the vehicle like quicksand, dragging it down. Despite efforts to push through the tires found no grip. The machine groaned under the strain, but forward movement stopped. The pond had them in its grip, and for a tense moment it looked like the mission might end right there. Not far. The terrain began to shift. The team spotted a firmer section of ground, an escape route if they could reach it with careful maneuvering and no shortage of effort. The vehicle twisted and pulled itself toward the drier patch. Slowly the tires caught hold. Inch by inch the SHERP climbed out of the mud. Finally it broke free from the banks. Grip relief swept over the crew. Cheers erupted. The vehicle had survived its first true Yukon trial, but the adrenaline hadn't faded yet. With spirits high, the SHERP headed back into the water for another crossing. This time the plunge was even deeper. For a moment the machine dipped below the surface water, sloshing against the windows, completely drenching the rear camera. The immersion was real and risky. Then came a surprise. A beaver dam hidden beneath the murky water appeared just beneath their path. It was the kind of natural obstacle that could a lesser vehicle. Fortunately, a combination of luck, timing, and the SHERP's unique build kept things moving. With the SHERP's test behind him, Parker sets his sights on something more important than amphibious adventures. Gold. He heads across camp to find the man who's helped him strike pay dirt time and time again. Liam Ferguson. Liam, perched by his truck, is already at work. He's no ordinary driller with a $1 million sonic drill at his side. Liam has scouted ground for Parker across Alaska and the Yukon. He's the quiet force behind big decisions, the kind of man who sees gold beneath your feet before you even know it's there. You want to go take a cruise down Sulphur? Parker asks. Let's do it. Liam nods. They've worked together long enough to need few words. Liam has already been washing rocks. Just a few samples, but those samples, they've hinted at something big. Last season Liam helped Parker discover a potential 80,000-ounce gold deposit. At today's prices, that's nearly $200 million sitting in the ground at Dominion. But Parker knows there's more. Where are we going? Liam asks, hopping into the passenger seat. Parker gestures toward the map. We're going to some little creek about 20 minutes away, the creek that the old-timers hammered and nobody's touched it in 100 years. A grin spreads across Liam's face. That's the story every prospector dreams of. See, modern miners often follow the whispers of the past. If the old-timers were there, it was for a reason. They had no sonar, no satellite data, no geological surveys, but they knew gold. Parker and Liam found themselves in a place heavy with history. Sulphur Creek, surrounded by thick forests and winding rivers, the area stood silent and still, long removed from the bustle it once knew. Though the land seemed forgotten, its past whispered beneath every frozen inch. They began to explore, scanning the uneven terrain with practiced eyes, searching for anything that hinted at human activity. At first, it was just wilderness, brush, ice, and snow-covered ground. Then something caught their attention. A weathered wooden structure, sunken into the earth and tangled in moss. Its shape was odd, too narrow for a shaft, too open for a box, possibly the remains of an old bow gate, a remnant of hydraulic mining when high-press water was used to blast through soil in pursuit of gold. Dominion Creek wasn't just any patch of land. It was once among the richest mining grounds in the world. Back in 1896, hopeful prospectors swarmed this region, armed with little more than pans, shovels, and raw determination. Over the next century, they would extract more than 2.7 million ounces of gold, an amount that today would be worth over $6. The ground had given generously, but not completely. The crude methods of the past meant that much was left behind. Fine flakes of gold slipped through the cracks of their rudimentary systems, settling in tailings and collapsing tunnels. Lost, but not gone. That lost gold was exactly what Parker had come to find. As the land began to flatten an unusual sight in this otherwise rugged region, something protruding from the ground caught Parker's eye. It appeared to be an old piece of pipe, possibly part of a long-abandoned mining system. With every step they searched for more signs. Tailings, buried shafts, old slumps in the earth. These weren't just clues, they were markers of where others had once dug and possibly where missed riches still waited. Their hunt turned up little more than fragments, a handful of indicators in the pan, a few glints, 1, 2, maybe 5, but far from a jackpot. Liam lays it out plain. It would take 1,000 yards of this to make an ounce of gold. Parker's jaw tenses. He doesn't say it, but they both know this creek is nearly tapped out, not dead, but close, like a fire with only embers left. The decision is swift. Parker won't move his operation here. As Parker turns away from Sulphur Creek, he reflects, not with regret, but with resilience. Someday, he says, I'll find out what failure is like. I'm sure it's coming, but not today, because while this creek may be dry, the land beyond still holds secrets. Dominion is vast, and their journey has only just begun. The SHERP rides again. The drills will turn, and beneath the frozen ground somewhere the gold waits.